So, Valentine's Day. You know the drill, right? Flowers, chocolates, maybe a fancy dinner. But what if I told you it's way more than just a holiday? It's actually this huge, complex system that we're all a part of, whether we're buying roses or just ignoring the whole thing. So let's kind of pull back the curtain and figure out how this thing really works. And when I say huge, I mean massive. Just look at this number. According to the National Retail Federation, people in the U.S. are on track to spend $27.5 billion. I mean, that's billion with a B. This thing is basically an economic engine, and it's running on affection.
Okay, so that number just naturally leads to the big question, right? Why? Why do we all do this? Why do we jump into this huge annual ritual of romance and, well, a whole lot of spending? To really get it, we need to peel it back like an onion, layer by layer. And we're going to start with the outside layer, what Valentine's Day looks like right now.
All right, Section 1. Today's Valentine's Day. We're talking about the modern ritual. And yeah, on the surface, it all seems pretty simple, doesn't it? It's got this familiar script. We all kind of know our lines.
Okay, so take a look at the top gifts. Candy is number one, right? Over half of us are buying it. But here's what's fascinating. While candy is the most popular gift, it's not where the big money is. That would be jewelry. See, these aren't just random gifts we're buying. They're almost like different currencies for showing affection. Each one has its own specific value.
And that expectation to participate? Man, it is strong. We're talking more than half of everyone planning to celebrate. And get this, the amount spent just on significant others is about to hit a record-breaking $14.6 billion. So you can see, this is way more than just a personal choice. It's a full-blown social event. Which begs the question, how on earth did it get this big?
Okay, let's dig down to that next layer. We're looking for the first American Valentine, what I'm calling the commercial engine. To find the first big gear in this whole machine, we've got to travel back to the 1800s, to a time when expressing your love started to become a real business.
And it all starts with this woman. Meet Esther Howland. She's often called the mother of the American Valentine. She was a college grad from Mount Holyoke, class of 1847. And in an era where you just didn't see many female business leaders, she spotted an opportunity and basically invented an industry out of thin air.
And her business model was genius. Seriously. First, she imported all this fancy lace and paper from England. Then, she created these super ornate, layered card designs. And get this, years before Henry Ford got all the credit, she set up an all-female assembly line to crank these things out. She figured out how to make affection scalable. By 1880, her company was pulling in over $100,000 a year, which is like $2.5 million today. Incredible.
So, okay, Esther Howland's success is undeniable. But it makes you wonder, right? She built this amazing engine, but what was the fuel? Why were so many people desperate to buy pre-made love letters in the first place? To answer that, we have to go even deeper, into the world of books and poems.
All right, next section. Inventing a romantic holiday, the literary script. Because yeah, long before there was a Hallmark card for everything, and even before Esther Howland, there were poets. And they're the ones who wrote the original script for this holiday. This timeline really lays it all out. For ages, February 14th was, well, just another Saint's Day. Nothing special. But then, way back around 1380, the poet Geoffrey Chaucer, you know, the Canterbury Tales guy, he links the day to lovebirds choosing a mate. Fast forward a couple hundred years, Shakespeare runs with the idea in his plays. So by the time Esther Howland shows up in 1847, the cultural groundwork is already there. The idea was just sitting there, ready to be turned into a business.
And this is the line that started it all. It's from Chaucer's poem, The Parliament of Fowls. He says, "For this was on St. Valentine's Day, when every fowl cometh there to choose his mate." Which basically means this was on St. Valentine's Day, when every bird comes to choose its mate. And as far as we know, that is the very first time anyone ever connected St. Valentine's Day with romance. Just one little idea from a poet planted in the culture, and look what grew out of it.
Okay, so we've got the literary script, we've got the commercial engine, we're getting closer to the core. But what happens when we dig all the way down to the very beginning? What's at the foundation of all this? Well, what you find is, surprisingly, not much.
Seriously, historians can't even agree on who the heck St. Valentine was. I mean, was he one of two different guys who were both martyred on February 14th? Was he a priest who secretly married soldiers against the emperor's orders? Or maybe the guy who wrote the first Valentine from prison? There's even a theory that the whole day was just invented to replace a pretty wild Roman festival called Lupercalia. The bottom line, nobody really knows.
And that's the key takeaway right there. The real power of Valentine's Day doesn't come from some clear-cut historical fact. Nope. It comes from all these layers of meaning, from poets, from businesses, from social traditions that have been piled on top of this really shaky foundation over hundreds of years, which brings us all the way back to today.
So, we've got the history, the poems, the business plan, but that still doesn't fully explain it. What makes this system keep going year after year? Why do so many of us still feel that pull to do something? The answer, it turns out, is hidden in our own psychology.
Okay, let's talk about something called signaling theory. It comes from economics, but it applies perfectly here. Think about it. In any relationship, you can never really know for sure what the other person is thinking. You know what you feel, but they can't read your mind. And just saying, I love you, well, words are cheap, right? Anyone can say that. We need a way to prove it. And that uncertainty, that's where a lot of Valentine's Day anxiety comes from, isn't it? The pressure to send the right signal. This is where the idea of a costly signal becomes super important.
And this breaks it down perfectly. What's the most efficient gift you can give? Cash. But it's a terrible Valentine's gift, right? Because it shows zero effort. It's a weak signal. Now, a costly signal is the opposite. It's something like a gift you spend a lot of time thinking about and picking out. It's deliberately inefficient. It costs you time, energy, and thought. And that inefficiency is exactly what makes it such a strong, believable signal that you actually care.
Yeah. The unspoken message of that carefully chosen gift is basically this. You are so important to me that I am sacrificing my scarce time just for you. It's like you're proving your commitment by showing you're willing to waste valuable resources, your time and attention, on that person.
But it's not just about sending signals. There's another huge psychological force at work here. This idea of indebtedness. You know that feeling, right? When someone gives you a gift, you feel grateful, sure. But there's also this little nagging feeling that you now owe them. That feeling creates this really powerful social pressure to give something back, which is what keeps the whole gift-giving cycle going.
So, when you put it all together, you can finally see Valentine's Day for what it really is. It's not just a day on the calendar. It's a whole system, right? It's built on a mysterious past, given a script by poets, turned into a giant business by entrepreneurs, and it's kept alive today by these really basic human needs, the need to prove how we feel and the need to pay back a kindness.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. Once you see this hidden system behind Valentine's Day, you kind of start seeing it everywhere, don't you? So what other rituals in our lives? I'm talking birthdays, holidays, even things like office parties. What other things are being guided by these same invisible rules of emotion, business, and social pressure?